Hi, and welcome back to the second hour of this Tuesday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Congenial, convivial, and amiable as always. I also want to remind you that it's never too early to start planning for how you, your business, or your church will reach into your communities this Christmas season. We've got Christmas buttons available. We've had them available now for almost a week, beginning of this week. They're available in packs of 10. The prices include shipping and handling. We sent out over 500,000 of these last year. The button theme, A Light Has Dawned, that's available in a beautiful sign for your yard. Debbie and I have used one of these yard signs for the last several years. Just a great little addition for the Christmas season. So now's the time to think about wearing them and sharing them. Get your Christmas buttons early. You can go to afastore.net, afastore.net, or give us a call at 877-927-4917, 877-927-4917. Well, let's go back to the phones, 888-589-8840, if you want to join the program. Let's go to Greg in... Is that Navasota, Texas? Greg, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mr. Fisher. I appreciate you taking the call.
Yes, sir.
I had a quick question. Quickly, a group of us in the Navasota area are trying to put together some interest for what we're calling the Council of Solidarity. We've got a lot of concerns about why such a low minority of homosexuals have such a major impact on our country, and the numbers that we're getting are less than 5% of this nation are homosexual, and we're trying to verify that, and we're concerned about how in the world that can possibly happen. And we're looking for Christians to be a little bit more political here. And we're also saying 69% plus of voting Americans reportedly are Christian. How in the world are these things happening with those numbers?
Yeah. Well, and a good question, Greg. I'd like to kind of throw that back to you. I mean, I have my own sort of suggestion there, but what's your explanation for why? I mean, really, we have a majority Christian country, as you point out, and we're being bullied, we're being pushed around, we're being intimidated, we're being harassed, we're being driven to silence, we're being driven undercover by less than 4% of the United States population, when the church, which represents the values on which this country was founded, seems to be inert and passive. What's your explanation for how this has happened?
Well, one of the explanations that we have is denominational differences and the problems that we've created among ourselves, and the lack of being able to come together politically with a solid voice. And one of the things we're looking at doing is coming together with multiple denominations that have a base belief of the Trinity at least, establishing what our base is in terms of those beliefs, and coming together politically. We have to get rid of the denominational division among ourselves to be able to make a powerful statement as Christians.
Well, I think that's a very, very important aspect of it, and I talked about something similar when I was a pastor in Boise, Idaho. We had a group of pastors. We had 25, 30 at one point coming together every week just for 1 hour of prayer for our city and for our valley. Now, every one of us came from different Christian traditions, different detailed doctrinal statements. I've said it before, say it again. If you'd given us the challenge to go into that room and then an hour later or days later come out with a detailed doctrinal statement on which we could all agree, we could not do it. We would not have been able to do it. We would have fractured. But because we had this larger purpose, all of us had the same desire to see spiritual awakening come to our valley, to see Christ exalted, to see Christ enthroned, the gospel proclaimed, because we all shared that overarching sense of vision and mission and purpose, then we were able to set aside those doctrinal differences because we had a larger thing that was uniting us. And so I think you're exactly right, Greg. This really is not going to be about detailed doctrinal statements. It's going to be about cultural restoration for America, calling America back to its foundations. And I believe Christians of all varieties and stripes. We have a lot of Roman Catholics that listen to this program. We have evangelicals that listen to this program, Methodists, Baptists, Lutherans, Bible-believing from community churches. And I think because we have a common burden, common vision, common desire, some of these lesser things can be set aside. They're important in their own right. Don't misunderstand me. And that's why we have different churches and different denominations. So whatever people's theological preferences happen to be, they can find a place where they're going to be at home. And that's an expression to me, not of division, but of the manifold grace of God. So anyway, Greg, last word on any response to what we've been talking about.
Well, thank you. Yes, I think I'd like to maybe present a sense of urgency because we no longer have a nation under God. How can we when God is forbidden in public? And we're running out of time. And we've got to do something. And I really appreciate your show. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Great, Greg. Thank you very much. And God bless you for what you're doing there in Navasota, Texas. All right, let's go to a number to call. It's 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Let's go to Kyle in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Kyle, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Okay, Brian, thanks for having me. What I was wanting to kind of piggyback on what Greg was talking about, but one thing I think is a lot of Christians, we don't want to really maybe get into the fight. You know, I've been listening to the AFR now for going on a little over 10 years, and that's kind of what got me going, you guys. And like the thing with San Antonio, I've just taken it on myself over the past couple of years, do a little research on the internet, find out who's the city council people are and so forth, and call them. And you know, some Christians don't like to boycott or get involved in. I think it was last week, I believe I heard it on AFR that the Home Depot had capitulated now it's not going to be so pro-homosexual as they had. So it does work. And it's like, for some reason, there's a lot of Christians or so-called Christians, they may be, that don't want to get into the fight. They just want to think as long as we stay in our four walls. Well, now that's...
Well, you know, and I appreciate the call, Kyle. Thank you for that. And I think what Greg was saying, what Kyle is adding here, you know, I understand perfectly. I understand that conservatives especially, I mean, what we want is we want to be left alone. We want to be able to do our jobs. We want to be able to tend to our families. We want to be able to coach our kids in Little League or soccer. We want to go to their concerts. We want to help them with homework. We want to go to parent-teacher conferences. We want to be able to go to our small group. We want to be able to worship with God's people on Sunday. We want to be able to go home and watch the 49ers get trounced by the Seahawks. No, we don't want to do that, but that's what happens occasionally. So that's what we want. We just want to be left alone. And that would be the ideal. We would have our government in the hands of responsible people, people of character, people of integrity, people of values, people that wanted to establish public policy that was consistent with the laws of nature and nature's God. That's what we want. We want to be able to delegate that to folks that will take care of us, that don't need to be watched, they don't need to be monitored, they don't need to be pestered. But ladies and gentlemen, that is not the world in which we live in. The barbarians are inside the gate. The barbarians are imposing policies on us and our families that are contrary to biblical values. They're restricting freedom, and they are going to threaten us and restrict us and oppress us, and it's time. We can no longer afford to be silent. We can't afford to be on the sidelines. We got to get engaged, get in the ball game. Focal Point, AFR Talk.